So since then, we've been having a great relation. And I had the chance of joining your community for the last probably 3 years. I think it's been already 3 years. And it's been a great, great honor and pleasure to be close to you since I met the project you were doing of the new shul, and all have you achieved, and all your community is really impressive. I really congratulate all of you, and really nice to be here with you. And again, thank you for listening. I'm not a speaker, and but I'll try to do my best, trying to share some of the stories I've shared with the rabbi and some of you in the past when I've been there, of a story that it's not a third person story, it's my story. So if there is questions or anything, please, what I'm just trying is to share with all of you some of my experience that will enhance life for someone. If at least one person lives with this, with a better view of the world, or with a little bit better attitude, I think I achieved my goal. So I'll start with a little bit of the introduction. Is okay, Rob?
Absolutely. Thank you.
I have what, 10 minutes?
Yeah, whatever you want, really.
I'll try to do it fast so you don't get asleep. So first of all, I'm Ariel Picker. I'm 46 years old. I have a wife. It's called Vicky. 3 kids. The oldest is 18. His name is Alan. The second one is Uri. He's 16. And my youngest daughter is Tali. She is today 13. The story I'm going to talk about happened in 11 of July 2010. This year is going to be 10 years. So it was a beautiful Sunday, and I'm a pilot by hobby. I love planes. That's why I'm also working in Arizona on the airport. And so I decided to go and have a nice flight that morning with my daughter. She was back then 4 years old. And back then she was also, she's very close to me. It's incredible. You love all your kids the same. It's like cutting one of your fingers, all are the same. But sometimes you have more closeness with one because characters are more alike. So my daughter always liked to be very close to me. So we decided to have a flight. She was learning to fly the plane as I was a pilot, and I put her normally on my legs, and we had a great time. So that day, I had a friend that was coming from out of city, and he wanted to have a nice view of the lakes where we fly normally in our weekend house. It's called Valle de Bravo. It's about 1.5 hours from Mexico City. So we decided to go to the airport. The plane has only 2 seats. I was a pilot, and on the other seat, normally I take my kids or some friends. And suddenly my daughter started crying on the way to the airport, saying she wants to be the first one. She wants to be the first one. And I said, Tali, always the guests go first. You go second. And she said, I want to go first. I want to go first. And she started crying. I said, you're making me ashamed with my friend. You are going to be after him because I don't know if we're going to have enough time. That day was the World Cup, by the way. It was in South Africa. So everybody was waiting for 12 o'clock to see the inaugurations or whatever. So she started crying and crying. So my friend said, go with her, and then I'll go with you. So I was not happy with that decision, so I took her. And we had a flight that instead of 15 minutes, it took 40 minutes. And we went through the clouds. We had a beautiful experience. Then I got her down. I got my friend into the plane. And that's where the story begins. So we were taking off about 500 feet above the floor. The engine failed and everything started to fail down. And end of the story, we crashed. And I don't know, can I share you a picture?
Please do, please.
No, you only can do
Tell
that.
us also, Ariel, how you crashed between the trees.
Oh, yeah. So, well, you know, it's better than. So it's not that you just fall down. What happens is when you lose your engine, you start planning. You start planning? right? So suddenly I was not able to get back to the airport. I was far away and had not enough altitude. So on this place, there are huge trees, and it's a beautiful place. It's a rainforest. So we have to go through the trees to find a small place to land the best we could. Saying that, I found a small spot that it was probably 100 feet long when you need about 1,500 feet long to land. It was a tenth of the length, and unfortunately, the landing was not as soft as I expected, and we have to go through the trees. And on that situation, you have to take decisions, and decisions have to be made immediately, and that's part of life. It's not easy when your life or the other person who's sitting next to you, it's on your hands because you're the pilot. And so I had to take some decisions that changed my life forever. But it's not that you have a couple of hours or minutes. That's when time changed the perspective, because in a second, it seems to be all the time in the life. And then we're sitting now and talking, and time goes really slow. So that's something that it's important. So at that moment, I had to take decisions. Who's going to get more hurt than the other if we were going to survive? Saying that, unfortunately, I had really hurt. The plane got in the middle of the trees, and finally to this very little small spot. I had a photo, but I cannot share it with you because it says only who opened the session can share it. If you want, I can send you by WhatsApp, Rob.
Yeah, send it to me and I'll print it and then I'll show it to everyone. In the meantime, and Ariel is very humble, but so he had a decision to make. If you can look at my hand here, his plane was going straight, but in between the trees, he was going in between two trees. So he had to turn his plane in order to fit in between the two trees. Otherwise, both his wings would get caught by the branches. And he had that split decision to make, whether to land then on his side, to go this way and land on his side, and then he would have gotten the blunt of the hit, or the other side, and then his friend would have been much more hurt. And of course, he made the decision to go this way so that he would be the one mostly hurt and his friend would somehow hopefully come out alive and safe. But continue.
Yeah,
so wanted to say that because you're too humble, but I'm not going to say.
So here, I don't know if you can see.
Oh, there
here,
you go.
I'll put it. It's easier. You can see this is the result. The cabin is here. That's where I was sitting. Into it, if you can see, was totally destroyed, and we got on fire immediately. So what happened is we landed. I got really hurt. My friend, fortunately, just took his seatbelt off and he walked out of the plane. Immediately, the plane started on fire. I don't know if you know, but the heat on the gasoline of a plane is much higher than regular gasoline. So probably was at 600, 700 centigrades. I don't know in Fahrenheit, but a couple of thousands. And I was unconscious, and suddenly 3 people that were walking around taking their horses to eat in the middle of a place nowhere got into the plane. They untied me and got me out of the plane. What happened there is I got really injured. When they got me out of the plane, a couple of seconds later, the plane exploded. And with explosion, I recovered consciousness. And so I broke the first thing when I woke up, I saw this guy holding me and taking cover of me from the fire so I don't get burned while he was getting burned. These 3 persons were 3 how do you say it? The guys who take horses to feed them, shepherds. and they were covering me from the fire and taking care of me so I don't die. Suddenly, I was able to call before I got crashed on my radio, on my cell phone. So the Mayday procedure. So a helicopter from the nearest airport took off to take rescue of us. So when the helicopter arrived, these guys just disappeared and they left. What happened? My friend got a broken rib. That was the worst thing he got. I broke my hand totally broken in many pieces. I still have many surgeries. I broke my leg, which was separated in two pieces. So I took with me part of my leg. I put it in my pocket so I don't lose my foot. I brought my foot with me and separate. So I had like 1.5 legs only. And I broke my spine in two pieces. So I was not able to move the rest of my body from my stomach down. I was paralyzed. I got into the hospital, and I got into surgeries. And long story, make it short, I don't want to get into that. It's not very interesting. After 14 surgeries and being on ICU, intensive care, for a couple of months, I finally got out of the hospital on a wheelchair. And the best I could expect was to probably walk with some, how do you call it, crutches?
Yeah.
The ones that goes here, I don't know. So I on that process, I'll share you a couple of thoughts. In the meantime, when I found out that they were going to cut my leg the first time, and also that I was not going to walk again, and I was burned, all my face on my left side was burned. That's why I also leave my beard. I don't like how it looks sometimes. I decide one day after about 10 days that it was too much pain. From being a father, from being a business person, from being a friend, suddenly I'm a, how do you say what you have on un lastre? I don't know the word. It was a problem. Instead of being the horse pushing and coming with me, my family and everything, I was the worker. Suddenly I was a problem for the family. I was a problem for the society, and I was a problem for me. I don't like what I turned to be. So I got in a very deep depression, and unfortunately or fortunately, I was all broken. I had no arms, I had no legs. I was all on a bed. The only thing I could do was to see the ceiling and count the number of squares on top of me. So I decided I didn't want to live anymore. What for? This was not the life I expected. This was not fair. And I was really upset with God. And I said, what did I did wrong to deserve all this pain? It's too much pain. Why? What can I expect from my life? What can I now be for my kids? And I was really, 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 really desesperated. And suddenly I decide this was over. So I decide not to talk again. I decide not to eat again, to drink again, and to be anything, and to die. So I said, God, if that's what you wanted and you did not took me before, here I'm for you. Let's go. So I even tried to not to breathe, but if you ever try it, don't try it. But if you try it, you will find out you cannot do that. You cannot stop breathing. For more effort you do, I really tried a couple of times and did not work. Then I stopped eating and did not work. And I tried all that. I stopped talking to my family, my little daughter, which was a miracle. She was not on the plane. That was the first miracle. For some reason, she cried that day before, because if she was on the plane, she probably will not survive. She would not have the strength of having that hurt, that energy on her body. She was 4. And by some miracle, she was not on the plane. That's the most important miracle. Then I'm going to talk about miracles. So I decided not to do it. I closed my eyes, and that's it. Take me. That was the easiest way to live life. So after 8 days of being like that, one day in the morning, I was looking to a mirror. I was with a long beard, and this eye was like, it was really hurt. So it was broken here. So it was all in a blue color, very swallow. And I was looking that I got hit to the front of the plane to an instrument that probably you've seen in every plane and every movie, is that little instrument that shows you blue on top and brown underneath, that it shows you if you go up or down. It's called the attitude instrument. It shows you if you're going up. If the attitude is positive, the plane goes up. If the attitude is negative, the plane goes down. Have you seen it? And it has like a rectangular that shows you where you're standing. And it's the most important instrument on a plane, because if you're on a cloud and you cannot see where you're heading to, you know if you're going up or down. And suddenly I saw that and I said, that's the answer. For some reason, I hit my head with that. The problem is the attitude I'm heading now. So what should I expect from all of this? So I'm not going to let my life goes through my hands, because I'm now hurt. And for sure, there is a reason for that. God, I don't know why you're doing me suffering so much, but no matter that, I decide that I'm going to fly high. And this is over. I already took the rest of a couple of weeks, not in the best hotel. It was a hotel hospital. Both starts with an H in this case, but I decide that it's time to take off again. And like on the plane, I'm going to take off today. I'm going positive. So since that day, I understood that I had no control of my health. I was in the hands of the doctors and in hands of God. I had no control of my work. I could not do anything. Also, one thing I had, it was the worst thing, and I forgot, is I lost memory. And losing the memory is probably the worst thing you can ever have. It's more painful than any hurt in all your body. I couldn't read a book because after reading 5 pages, I forgot what I was doing. I could not see a movie. After 10 minutes, I forgot what movie was and what was happening. Yes, if my family came and talked to me or friends, I forgot they were 10 minutes before. But 3 days later, I can remember that. So what I lost was a short-term memory. It's really bad. So I decided I was going to fight for what I wanted, and I was going to change my attitude in life. So one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. And I thought that if I did not die before, was for something, and I have to fight and not let go myself. After a couple of days, all my life started changing. I start finding why all this started happening. And I found that this was not what I wanted to leave to my kids as my legacy. I didn't want to let them have on their name a person that let go life. That part of my life was on the legacy is the Shem Tov. It's the good name. The rest, everybody, they can take it away from you. The same way I lost my health in a second. The same way I lost everything in a second. I was on a bed without being able to do anything. But I found that only thing it was mine, and nobody can take it away, was my attitude to life. No matter I was on a bed, no matter I couldn't move, no matter nothing. I didn't like the way I look. The only thing that was left for me was my attitude, and nobody was going to take it away from me. So I decided my attitude was to be there every day, doing my best and working hard to get back again in life. So after a couple of surgeries, a couple of months, I was able not to walk, not to be on a wheelchair for the rest of my life. I was able to do a triathlon. I was able to start my life again, but with all this knowledge. So now I have to use this knowledge for better, and to share it in certain ways that people will understand that they cannot take you away your attitude in life. That's the most important thing. And I start working very hard on my attitude, and suddenly I start getting so frustrated because it's hard to say, no, just smile. You see yourself destroyed. You go back to your business, there is no business left. You go back to yours, you cannot walk, you cannot do this, but you have to smile and smile again and smile again and smile again and smile again. Listen, it happens. If you take it as you have to do it, you have to look for life as a good thing, as a good thing, as a good thing. And suddenly I said, God, one question, is this the right attitude? So now I'm turning to be a clown. The attitude is to be a clown, to be always happy. And I found out it was not true, unfortunately. So I said, oh my God, I've been so many, well, at least I was a year thinking that the right attitude was to look positive all the time. But that was not making me feel better at the end of a year. That was not making me better with all these medicines taking every day until today. So I said, okay, I understand that attitude is the way to go. But the question is, what is the right attitude? What is the right attitude? It's like this instrument. Sometimes the plane goes up, but sometimes you have to go down to fuel back again. And sometimes you have to be straight. But there should be an attitude that really improves your life. So I keep on thinking and thinking. And so finally I found it. And that's what I want to share with you. I found the right attitude. And the right attitude is not the positive attitude. And it was there. It was on the word. And I couldn't see it. And finally, after a long talk I had with my wife, like every Friday, she said something that popped. And I found the word. And the word was in the same word as attitude. But I was missing two letters, the G and the R at the beginning of the word. And that's the attitude, is the gratitude. I was just missing for years for two letters. So I found that the right attitude for life is the gratitude. And if we are, how do you say, with gratitude to life, if we are gratitude to one to each other, we will always find the right answer. And that's the way we should, at least on the way I see life, is to give. We start every day in the morning, right, Rob? What do we start with? Modeh ani lefanecha. What is that? What do we say to God? Thank you. Thank you for giving me this day. And then I found that in every religion, in every book, we always are doing the same thing. All the philosophers were behind that. It's about gratitude. You read all the parashot, you read all the sidurim. In every religion, it talks about thank you to God. It's right in front of me. And I wanted to share with you that. It's so simple to find happiness. It's so simple. It's just a matter of gratitude. And even if you're doing a business and you have a question, if I go right or go left, I invest or not invest. Okay, think. What is the gratitude behind that? And if you look at it, the probability of doing it the right way through gratitude, you're going to do the right thing. So this is the most important learning for me at the end. After all of these 10 years, I found that life for me is a matter of gratitude. Now, to end with this, I'd like to share you with the end of this story has an end that it's beautiful. And this I'm going to turn from your inside of a gratitude to religion. Well, at least we're here on an environment of believing in God, right? If not, we will not be here. So I can share you this. So 7 years after my accident, my son Uri, the middle one, had his bar mitzvah. And 1 week before the bar mitzvah, the rab in Mexico said, Uri is going to perform for you in a private session his parasha. His parasha is called Haye Sarah. And Rab, if you can confirm what I'm going to say, that parasha is regarding when those 3 angels got to Sarah to tell her she was going to get pregnant. And she laughed, and that's why the name Yitzhak is Yitzhak, because Yitzhak. She laughed about it, right? I'm right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So my son, I'm not a very conservative person. I'm not very religious. I was reading the parasha in Spanish on the side of the Hebrew. I was not understanding. I was listening to my son. They invite me to hear him alone. I will listen, because next week it was his performance and I was not going to pay attention to what he was saying. So I start reading the parasha, and the parasha says that God always sends angels on 3. And then I start remembering that 7 years ago, I was on a plane on fire and I was dying. There was no way I was going to get out of that fire. I was unconscious. And suddenly 3 shepherds got into the plane. And without asking anything and without doing anything, they just got me out of the fire and protect me not to die. So I started getting really nervous. And then I kept reading. And in the parasha also said the name of the 3 angels. And they said they were Michael, the angel of life. That he is the one who told Sarah she was going to get a kid, right, Rob?
Right.
He was the leader.
Right.
Then there was another angel. His name is Gabriel, from Geburah, from strength. And the 3rd angel is Raphael, from Refuah, from health. So I was like, oh my God. And Sunday I started crying. I couldn't believe it. So for many of you in Mexico, what are the regular names for people? Juan, Pedro, Jacinto. Can you imagine that the guy who took me out of the fire, his name is a Mexican shepherd. His name is Michael. So when I saw that, and I remembered that who took me out of the plane with his other 2 brothers, 3, and the name of the shepherd that took me out of the plane is the same name as the angel that got to Sarah. I don't know if that was a coincidence or a God-cidence, but it was unbelievable for me. I couldn't believe it. And that brings me again to the gratitude to God to have let me be in this world, to keep living as a father, a son, and a Jew for the communities. And saying all of that, I'll just finish saying that on this time on life, where with this virus, with these all economical problems worldwide, that you don't have where to run because every place is worse than the other. we should think on our attitude, and we should be gratitude to be here in this Zoom chat, because we could not be here also. And just by being here and spending these 35 minutes together, we should be grateful. And let's be grateful of having our families. Let's be grateful that we have something about it. Let's be grateful about just being here with the capacity of choosing what to do after this talk. To have the right of, more than right, to have the option, to have the, in Spanish we say libre albedrío. How do you translate that?
Free will.
It's
free will.
The free will. This is life. So no matter we have this virus, no matter we have all these problems, I see the Dow Jones is broke. I see this, I hear people crying and crying. My only question is, can you find one thing to be gratitude today? Just hold to that. And tomorrow is going to be a better day, because something is going to come up in the next. And trust me, seeing yourself on a mirror burned, without no hand, without no food, and probably not going to walk again, and with no memory. And there is something you can always find to be there for tomorrow, and to leave to your kids, to your friends, to your family, to your community, the most valuable thing a person can have, and it's called the Shem Tov. So thank you very much. I hope, Rob, I achieved. I'm not a speaker. I just try to share a little bit, and everybody someone has a question, free, whatever you want to ask.
For not being a speaker, you were just so deeply inspiring. Maybe you should think of becoming a speaker too, on top of all the things you already do. But thank you, Ariel. Really.